Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read during the first half of the month, and I have quite a few to talk about, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So at the beginning of the month, I was actually reading a book that carried on from the previous month, and that book was The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. If you guys haven't heard of this story already, this takes place in the city of Verity. And in this city, and pretty much really anywhere in the world, monsters are born from acts of violence. And we follow these two characters, Kate Harker and August Flan. Verity is actually split into two halves. So one side is run by Harker, or I can't remember his first name, but that's Kate's father. And in his part of the city, you can actually pay him to protect you from the monsters, and he has a deal where the monsters can attack you if you are under his protection. But on the other half of the city, which is run by August's father, the Flans, August's family, the Flans, they don't have the same arrangement with monsters, and every day is a fight to make sure as many people can survive against these monsters that are born from these acts as possible. So we follow these two main characters, and Kate is a human, and she is doing everything she can to be seen as this monster. She's trying to live up to her father's expectations, and she's trying to be as nasty as possible, I guess, to earn the respect of her father. And then August, on the other hand, is actually one of these monsters that was born from a violent act, and he just wants to be human. And after an unlikely circumstance, these two end up together, and the story kind of takes off from there. I will say that it did take me a little bit to get into this book. I'm not sure if it's because I read so much during that week before I got around to this one. I think it might have been a mix between that and the fact that also that the beginning of this book was a little slow. This was the first Victoria Schwab or V.E. Schwab book that I have ever read. So I was still trying to get used to her writing, and I don't know if this was necessarily the best book to start off with because of that. But I did eventually start getting into the story. But I will say that while I was reading, I did feel like something was missing. I did, like, almost throughout the entire story, I felt like it's just something wasn't there, and I think that it could be because of the writing, but it could also be because of my mood while I was reading. And sometimes I kind of felt like I was forcing myself through, because it was one of those books where I was interested while I was reading, but when I put it down, I didn't necessarily want to pick it up all the time. I just was like, I can pick up something else, or I can like watch videos or something like that. So I don't really know what the reason behind that was, because it could have been my mood personally, but it could have also been the writing, and I still haven't figured that out yet. But I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and I do plan on doing a series review once I finish that one, so make sure you guys keep a lookout for that. The next book that I finished is The Knocked Up Plan by Lauren Blakely. This book follows Nicole, and she's at this point where she is ready to start a family, but she doesn't believe that she is right for a relationship. So she has decided that she wants to actually try and go and get a donor so she can get pregnant and have a baby and start a family that way. And she thinks about going through the traditional route of getting a donor from a normal donor bank, but eventually she decides to ask her co-worker Ryder if he can actually donate for her. Ryder also works for the same company that she works for, and he has his own segment, but he is approached by his boss to work on this segment, or he could possibly lose his job if it doesn't go well. So when Nicole approaches Ryder to become her sperm donor for her baby, he counters her offer with asking her to help him with his assignment that he has to do in exchange to be her sperm donor. But it's a little more involved than you would think for a normal sperm donor. And I'm just gonna leave it there. I ended up enjoying this book way more than I thought I would. I thought it was definitely an interesting concept. I've never heard of anything being talked about, or any book talking about anything like this before, and that's really what made me pick it up. The two of them, they was like, love is it for me. Ryder, the male character, came from a really bad situation. You know, he didn't always used to be the way he is at this current point in his life, and Nicole just hasn't had any good experiences in her love life, so she's just like, you know what, I'm tired of trying to make stuff work. I'm just ready to have a baby, start a family. And I appreciated how pretty much everybody was supportive of her. They did kind of question her decisions at first. Her friends, they was just like, are you sure you want to do this? You know, you still have time and all this stuff. But in the end, they did support her, and I appreciate that her mother was there, and her mother also supported her. I thought that was really nice, and I appreciated how the two of them, how their relationship changed, because the two of them always flirted with each other, and they were definitely attracted to each other. But besides the flirting in the hallways at work, it never really went beyond that point. But between Nicole getting what she wants and Ryder getting what he wanted, they kind of changed their relationship, and they got to know more about each other, and it was really, really good. There were a few things that I didn't necessarily like. There were a lot of communication issues, which I can definitely understand, where they wouldn't want to share their feelings with the other person at a certain point. But it got to that point where I felt like it was, you know, even if you weren't sure, you could kind of tell that there was more going on than what the plan originally started out for. So all they had to do was talk to each other to avoid the situation, and we could have had way less problems than we did. I knew it was going to come, because there always has to be some type of conflict, and everything had been going so well before. But it got to that point where I was just like, you know what, all they needed to do was voice their opinions, or, you know, it just, some of these problems didn't have to come up, and something else could have happened that I would have enjoyed better if it was a different conflict than communication issues, because I think that would have been easily solved. But like I said, I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. The next book that I picked up was Food Wars Volume 19 by Yuto Sakuda. This is one of the further books in the series, so I'm not really going to get into this because I don't want to spoil any of the storyline. I love this. I was highly anticipating or waiting on another installment in the Food Wars series, and I'm sad it was only one volume. It was only like 5 or 6 chapters, maybe more than that, I don't remember. But really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving this one a 5 out of 5 stars. And then right after that, I picked up Skip Beat, the 3-in-1 edition, volume 6, I believe. So this is volume 16 through 18, and I mentioned this again, I'm not really going to get into the description of these because this is further on in the storyline. I have talked about what this series is about in several videos now, so if you guys are interested, make sure you go check out those. I talk about the series in, I think, my book haul, and I have a manga recommendations video up, as well as last month's wrap up. I talked about this series before, so you guys could definitely go check those out if you're interested in seeing what this series is about. But I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, right after that, I picked up volume 7 of the 3-in-1 edition and volume 8 of the 3-in-1 edition of Skip Beat by Yoshiki Nakamura, and I gave both of these a 5 out of 5 as well. And the next book that I picked up is another volume of Skip Beat. Sorry, I'm all scatterbrained. But this one is volume 9 of the 3-in-1 editions, also by Yoshiki Nakamura. Gave this one a 5 out of 5 as well. I went way over my time, so I'm going to have to stop filming and go back to this tomorrow because I have to go to work. So I will be back tomorrow to film. So as it seems to be happening a lot lately, I actually ran out of time while I was filming last night. So it is now the next morning, and I am going to continue filming this wrap up. And the next book that I picked up, I decided to take a little break from manga, and I think I read this book all in one day on a Saturday, It is Knocked Up by Christine Bell, and this book follows Tani Mitchell, and at the beginning of the book we're following her as she is completing the last of her classwork for her last class of college. So she is pretty much about to graduate. She finds out that this same day that there's actually going to be a bonfire party, and her best friend convinces her to go and to have fun. She sees this as being her last time to really go out and just enjoy herself. So at this party she meets this guy, and his name is Luke Anderson, and unlike Tani, he's actually grown up in this town in Louisiana. He and his brother are actually foster brothers. They're in a family where their parents pretty much take in foster children as they can. So he has really grown up not really having much, and all he can really think about at the moment is getting out of this small town and moving to the city and opening up his own like bike repair shop. So at this party the two of them meet, and they kind of have this really instant connection. So as you can guess from the title of this book, the main character Tani gets pregnant by the main character Luke, and things kind of spiral downhill for her from there. So I thought the story was okay, but I did feel like I had more issues with it than moments that I actually enjoyed. One of the big things that I really enjoyed was the fact that Tani actually just embraced the whole situation. You know, when she found out, she had no question of what decision she was going to make, and I really appreciated that she just took it for what it was and decided on the best way to act from there. Maybe the first 30 to 40% of the book, or you know, the part where she knew she was pregnant, she did not tell him. And like I said, I understood the reasons why she didn't want to tell him, but at the same time I felt like he had the right to know, especially since he didn't just completely drop her from that moment. It's not like she tried to contact him and he didn't get back to her. He was actually trying to contact her and she wouldn't get back to him. So I didn't like that. And then I felt like I had the same issue with the Knocked Up plan. There were a lot of communication issues, but I felt like in this one there were more communication issues, and that possibly could be because the characters in this one are younger than the characters in that book. I think it just really had a lot to do with the decisions that Tani made and why she felt like she needed to do certain things, and you know, going through with them. But then like a chapter later she was like, you know what, I didn't really mean this, I just said this because this, that, and other. And I know that's part of what makes the story, but at the same time I'm just like, there could be other conflicts. Like there was one thing that was done and I felt like that was a big moment for these two characters to rely on each other, and it really worked. And that was a complication that came up in the story that I felt like actually worked to benefit the story. But the communication issues, honestly, I feel like I've been reading so many books with those communication issues, or those types of communication issues, and they're just starting to bother me more and more, because I'm just like, I know people are human and they don't all make the decisions that they should, but at the same time I just feel like that the authors made these characters make certain decisions just to have a conflict in the story. And I feel like if you're going to have a conflict, make it something that is not the typical conflict. But I will say that I did appreciate this ending. I was a little worried for a while that I was just gonna really just end up not enjoying the book as much as I hoped, and I didn't. But I will say that the ending did help wrap it all up, because there was some give and take on both sides, and the characters finally came together, and some stuff ended up working out the way I wanted it to work out from the beginning. So I really appreciated that. So like I said, I gave that one a 2 out of 5 stars. So at this point I had decided that I would go ahead and finish reading up all of my Skip Beat manga that I had. I only had a few volumes left, so I'm just gonna quickly go through these, because like I mentioned before when I was talking about these, it's later into the series, so I'm not really going to get into the synopsis because I don't want to give any of the story away. But I read Skip Beat the 3-in-1 edition volume 9 by Yoshiki Nakamura. I read the volume 10 of the 3-in-1 edition. Then I went to volume 11 of the 3-in-1 edition and volume 12 of the 3-in-1 edition, and this was the last of the 3-in-1 editions that I had. And then I also read volume 37 and volume 38, and I gave all of these a 5 out of 5 stars. So each of them I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And while I was reading, I think there were a couple volumes that I might have given, like realistically might have given lower than a 5 out of 5 stars. But at this point I was rereading the story. I have read past what I finished in volume 38, which is the last volume that I currently own. And I have finished the story past that part. So just based on my overall enjoyment of the series and like everything that I've read so far and things that I know are going to happen, I just decided to just give them all 5 out of 5 stars because I loved them so much the first time and I really enjoyed reading again. And there were some things that I actually forgot that happened, and I was really happy to relive those because I was waiting on something to happen, and it did. So those are all the books that I read during the first half of August. I will be doing a wrap up for the second half. I don't think it will be as many books as what was in this one because I haven't really read too much. I haven't finished anything since I finished those books during the first half. I am currently in the middle of 2 books right now, and yeah, so I won't have as many books on the second half, but I will definitely have some more by the end of the month. So make sure you guys are looking out for that. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you guys again in the next one. Bye.